Now, as you know, there are these schemes that are going ahead to try and restrict our movements. There's the 15-minute cities, or there's the ULEZ thing in London. And people are getting a bit worried about that. Nobody wants to have their movements restricted. Now, of course, there's this business with the car, that if you drive into a zone too many times, you're going to get fined. And it seems that people are out there protesting. But I'm just wondering whether they actually need to do that, because you may find that there is a way to somewhat circumvent the system. I mean, if they're going to pressurise you, I think it's only fair that we fight back and somehow, you know, disrupt it a little bit. Now, this might be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but see what you make of this. So first, I'd like to thank two contributors who've come to me from completely different places, and they've explained a situation which seems to be basically a legal situation connected to vehicles that a lot of people have yet to work out. And so thank you to Colin, who rang me up a month or so ago and was explaining this to me, and I'm a bit hard of thinking, and I sort of got it and I understood it, and I thought, yeah, I don't know how I would put that into a video. And then Brian has got in touch, and he said pretty much the same thing, and between the two of them, it seems that I've now understood exactly what the problem is and why it will be an unworkable situation for these 15-minute cities or these restricted movement things. So see what you reckon about this. I thought we'd have a bit of fun and read out Brian's email, mainly because he puts it very succinctly. So let me just split the screen here and stick it up. He says, having briefly checked the DVLA website, it appears that not only can any individual be the non-driving owner, keeper of a vehicle, but that the DVLA generously facilitate speedy registered keeper transfers online. Now, that would mean that you can quickly transfer your car, your ownership of the car, or keeper of the car, I should say, to somebody else. So now, bear that in mind. He says, how...
So he just said it. He just said it. Keeper of the car, so he knows. So, Richard, you know what I'm talking about. In the last two videos, what I'm talking about, you have no ownership of anything. You're only the keeper, yes.
However, there seems to be no limit to how many times or how frequently any individual vehicle's registered keeper may be changed, which is useful because since it seems likely that the change of keeper could, or maybe that could reset the number of times a zone has been crossed.
Oh, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe you don't know. So yeah, the last two videos probably still stand. So he's talking about what he thinks is coming. He doesn't realize that we only hold copies of titles. We only hold copies of deeds. Manufacturers own everything. The governments that are not supposed to own anything own everything through their corporations.
So just think about that. There you are, you're driving in your car, and all of a sudden you cross the line and you've been picked up by the camera, and there it is, and you realise, oh, I've done about 100 journeys. That's a bit much. Maybe I should flog the car. Now, remember, it's the driver that they're trying to fine for the infringement, because it's the driver that's done the infringement, not the keeper, who could be a disabled person who never drives themselves, could be the wife of somebody or the husband of somebody else who actually drives the car, could even be a child. So that's quite interesting in and of itself. What else does Brian say here? So he says, for example, if keeper A with 100 recorded journeys decide to sell his or her vehicle, it would be unfair, would it not, on purchaser B if he or she were to inherit a £300 fine for simply driving his or her purchase away. So you can imagine, there you are, you bought the car. Does the car come with the fine? No, it shouldn't, because it's the driver that's done the infringement, not the keeper. And if the keeper is selling the car, it shouldn't come with a fine attached. So that makes it a little bit unworkable. So then it says, then it occurs to me, this is Brian, nefarious members of the community as their allotted journeys approach the allowed maximum, could simply transfer keepership to a close relative, maybe, or a neighbour, or, dare I say, an enterprising entrepreneur with an eye to a new business opening, something like wereganycar.com, for instance, and then swap it back at some future propitious date, which would simply be journey tally related. He says, yes, I know, that would be outrageous. In other words, you're coming up to the amount, you, what with friends and neighbours and some sort of nefarious organisation, it would be totally legal to do that, but maybe moralistically wrong. But let's face it, if you're being oppressed with this restricted journeys, maybe you feel entitled to do that, that you would just go, do you know what, I've done about 99 journeys in this car into that zone. I'm not supposed to do any more than that, so I'll transfer the keepership to you. You can do another 99. Maybe you don't even drive the car, so I can still drive it. I'll be legally allowed to drive it, so you just transfer to somebody else. I mean, you can see that that's what people would do. Anyway, of course, he says at the bottom here, I know you'll be as appalled as I am to discover this potential spanner in the works of our collective utopian future, but hope you'll find a way to bring it to the notice of the relevant audience. Yes, and this is what Colin was saying to me, and I couldn't quite understand how the transfer works, but thank you, Brian, who's put it just in slightly simpler terms. So there it is. What do you think about that? I came up with the idea of taking the number plate off and walking about until you get 100 fines, or you get fined and you say, my lord, in the magistrate's court, but I was only walking with a number plate. Somebody pointed out that that would be illegal. I don't know why. Take it carrying a number plate off. It's just if you've parked your car and you're carrying it, it's a perfect way of remembering what your car number plate was. But I think this system is more okay. Now, the only problem is, of course, is if the DVLA listens to this video and says, we didn't think about that. We will now change it so you can only change 2 or 3 times the keeper of the car, which would be a bit of a blow. So me telling you might be putting a scupper in the works in itself. I hope that's not the case. But anyway, as it stands, it does appear that seems to be the case. If you know differently, if Brian and Colin and I have got this wrong, do let us know. But it might be a way of just circumventing this system. And as good British people, maybe that's what we should be doing. Anyway, I thought I'd bring you this little update and see how you feel about that. Thank you very much for listening. I shall be back with more videos very soon.
Is already being felt, but I don't know if we are starting to move away from the push to electric cars, or if it's just the algorithm presenting me stories that are feeding into what I like to read about. But I am feeling like people are starting to question the true credentials of these electric cars.
I mean, presumably if a government was very serious about this, and I often question in my videos in a sort of giving the benefit of the doubt to the government, thinking that they...
Don't bother giving them the benefit of the doubt, Richard. You're exactly right. And every time I hear you guys talk about these electric cars, I can't help but to keep bringing up how easily it would be designed to design a lightweight electric vehicle. I always put the speed down at 30, 40 miles an hour, but it would probably have a top speed of 60, 65 miles an hour. Long range, solar panel powered, since everyone wants to be so green, not you necessarily, but everyone wants to be so green. Easily done, easily charged, easily provable, because we put these small solar panel kits on campers, for example, and I've had experience with this, motorhomes, campers. I know how many panels. You can get a 3 or 4 panel system, small 3, 4 panel system. One panel system can handle the television, the radio, the electric pilot for the gas heater, um, electric pilot for the gas stove. So refrigerator can go on propane, gas propane, but again, needs electricity for the light bulb and for other things that are in the fridge. I'm trying to think of the lighting, the outside lighting. Using LED lights does keep down the electricity, but terrible for the human consciousness and humans' health. It's not good for biospecies, LED lights. So we could be doing all of that. We could be putting the solar panels in the vehicles, make them the trunk panel is a solar panel. The hood is a solar panel. The roof is a solar panel. Even if it's a convertible roof, you could make removable, they used to call them retractable hardtops. That's what you would do with a convertible. You would make them all retractable hardtops, electric vehicles, and every time you put the top up, you're opening up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possibly panels, electrical solar panels, so that you could charge your vehicle faster. The designs that you can make, I just fiddle around with different designs sometimes ever since dealing with Elon Musk bullshit stories of Elon Musk that you and your buddies are throwing around too the other day about Elon Musk. I mean, you have no idea, man. Elon Musk is not your friend. He's not good for anybody. He's a plant. But anyways, yeah, the electric car design would be so simple. It would be so basic. I mean, we had electric cars for a long, long time. I've talked about it before. We don't have to make them real heavy like we used to make them. We have now carbon fiber. We can make carbon fiber framing that would be just as strong, sometimes in some cases even stronger, depending on which way you shape it, that you could build the frames out of these vehicles with carbon fiber framing. You can make carbon fiber tubular framing for these vehicles and make them even lighter. There are so many things that we could do to make them lighter, better, stronger, run longer. The speed would be good for everybody. It would all be good. Yes, you take away a lot of manufacturing of power seats because you wouldn't be using power seats anymore. You wouldn't be using air conditioning in most cases because you're trying to lighten the vehicle, all this kind of stuff, Now, I just happened to spot something that looks like it might fall out of my categories. Let me see if I can pause this thing for a minute while I'm shooting this shit. Hold on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, I'm losing it now. Because I can't pause. Maybe if I just do that. See if it paused. Yeah, it's right up here in this corner right here. But it looks like it already changed, so let's see, what did I do? What happened? I was just trying to pause it, and I don't know what happened. Oh well. I'll go back when my computer's running better. Let's listen to some more, Richard.
They must have our best interests at heart, because why wouldn't they? Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. Surely we would have got rid of them if they were evil in any shape or form, one would hope. And so you would think that they must be digging up the roads all over the place, that the infrastructure with charging points everywhere for the convenience of everyone, and new batteries are being manufactured and already stored, and all of this has been thought out. If in 7 years' time they're going to persuade people to get rid of their diesel vehicles or their petrol vehicles, their economic affordable vehicles, shall we say, and then go down this other mechanism, almost, well, mandated to a degree, until the point where you can't get the petrol and all of that's actually stopped at the pump. You kind of think, well, I look out my window and yes, there's roadworks going on, but it might be the gas board or the other sort of electric board, but they're not putting in the installation. And I'm not seeing petrol pumps where you've got bay after bay after bay where you can charge your electric car or swap your electric car for another electric car that will do the next 300 miles or whatever like that. And you just think, well, if they don't start now, when are they going to start?
You're quite right, and I also had another comment drop in my email inbox last night from a gentleman that said there was 1,000 houses being built close to where he lives, and you went and spoke to someone who was involved and asked about, are these houses being put in with electric car chargers? Because you think if we're all moving that direction, then surely it should be considered for the build of the house. And the reply came, no, and the system isn't even capable of supporting it, even if we wanted to. So again, it doesn't quite figure, because if everybody tried to switch over to electric tomorrow, well, based on my understanding, the entire grid would collapse. We've already seen in California, for example, we've had moments where they've turned around and said, right, nobody charge your electric car, we haven't got the power for it. So there's a whole load of things that just don't seem to be being considered.
And especially now we're seeing the problem with supply anyway of electricity and gas, with war in Ukraine and problems with energy supply coming from wherever. And you sort of think, well, they're already saying there might be blackouts. And you think, well, hang on a minute, if there might be blackouts, surely if that's going to be a problem, it's not a wise thing to try and push us all down where everything is going to be reliant on electricity. Why can't we have a much longer transition until the electric and the renewable generation of it is so stable and proved to be reliable, and it doesn't matter if the sun goes in or the wind doesn't blow, that we can still generate enough, whether that be with a little extra help from nuclear or whatever it is. That's what it seems to me, bonkers to be trying to push everything into this one size fits all, when clearly not only domestically but industrially, how the hell, I mean, it just seems anybody can think of this for more than 2 minutes. You'll start going, how does this work? Surely this is a nutty scheme.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Some of the comments that popped up on my Royal Mail video were saying that Amazon had opened a depot and they wanted it to be, zero emission and all this stuff, so they bought all the electric vans, which were backed up by diesel generations at the base to power the electric vans. And then this gentleman who contacted me said, well, in the morning I had a parcel arrive in an Amazon electric van, and then in the afternoon the rest of my delivery arrived in a unbranded, rented diesel, because the electric vans weren't good enough to do the full round. So with the businesses as well, this isn't just on the consumer.
Yeah.
Businesses who are falling for this, saying, okay, I will jump on the electric bandwagon, are going out and buying these vehicles and finding that they just don't work in the real world. I'm not saying that they don't work for everybody. There will be people who, maybe they've been given the car as part of a company scheme, so the cost of the vehicle is negated, and maybe they charge it at home and they do 15 miles to work, and that's the perfect vehicle for them, and that's brilliant. But for the vast majority of human beings who own a car, an electric car isn't actually a viable replacement.
Yeah, no, it does seem as if this has been dreamed up by a man who only goes 5 minutes down the road and is more thinking of the old Sinclair C5 and that sort of thing, rather than actually a practical implication for the rest of the world.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Just while you're on the Sinclair C5, I think that's a really good point that you've brought up, because the Sinclair C5 was about cheap transport for the masses. Whereas what we're seeing in the electric car world is we're not seeing cheap, lightweight, easy transport that makes transport accessible for people. We're seeing giant 3-ton SUVs that are £90,000 and more, that seem to be more about status and your Instagram than actually about saving the planet or going places frugally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so then you move on to this sort of...
And there lies the main problem. Calling it a planet. Let's start there.
Again, another nutty concept that seems to be being forced on us, that people haven't voted for, which is a continual thing. Things that we have not actually been consulted or voted for. These so-called 15-minute cities, in which they want to try and contain the number of journeys that you make in and around a city in the words that they use, to control traffic and reduce emissions and all of this sort of stuff. I don't know whether it makes a difference in the way they go and charge you, whether you're driving an electric car or a fossil fuel based car. Do you know whether there would be an exemption if so in other words, if you're limited to 100 journeys, if you cross over certain zones as it's been described, if you're in an electric car, you should pump
checkpoints.
checkpoints. Well, they would be. I mean, they've got to check, haven't they? You know, surely there'll be a man with a barrier, won't there, with a peak cap, who's going to be very polite. Oh, hello, sir. Can I just check if you do 100 journeys? Just have a look at your card. Oh, yes, I see you've done 99 journeys. Just one more journey, sir. Then I'm afraid I will have to be rather officious next time.
Not if you 100 journeys per family, not per vehicle or per person.
Well, this is it. There's so many sort of weird connotations because presumably, unless they can identify the driver, it's going to be the car and then the keeper of the car who gets clobbered, which is very unfair if that happens to be, say, a disabled person and they have a chauffeur who's doing the journeys and then has to get home at night and takes the car because the disabled person can't drive, so he doesn't really need it, but he's employing the other bloke. But anyway, all of that. But if you have an electric car, do they get any preferential treatment?
I'm not aware that they do. Again, there's another one of those things where we seem to be moving in one direction, but not necessarily all joined up. So as far as I'm aware, if you own an electric car, these 15-minute neighbourhood low traffic zones, you're not allowed through emissions or not. So I think when you did your video on these low traffic 15-minute neighbourhoods, you used the word insidious, and I think I have to completely agree. There's far too much within those 15-minute neighbourhoods that seems more like unnecessary restrictions. And when I did my video on it, I questioned, why should anybody else judge whether your journey is unnecessary? How can you, to have a government body or some sort of think tank who are sitting there to work out, well, what journeys are necessary and what journeys are unnecessary, so we can work out whether you're allowed to go on your journey. I find that quite terrifying.
Yes, that anybody can make the decision for you of what is important to you at any one time. And I mean, would you get an exemption if it was an emergency and your hospital is across the zone? You've done your 100. You've been a good boy. You've done all that. You go, I can't drive now for another 2 weeks until the end of this year, and then mother's taken ill. It's taking 5 to 10 hours or 10 days for an ambulance to come, and you're thinking, sod this, I'm going to put her in the car. So you save the taxpayer the cost of the ambulance, but you get penalised for going across. And could you then go, wait, hang on a minute, it's this? Or if you're chasing somebody who's just stolen your precious colour television or whatever it is, and you're going, I'm going to catch you, and you slip. There must be so many things. It'd just be a nightmare for administration, I would think, for their end.
Absolutely, so many questions. And you mentioned earlier on about consultations, and I dug fairly deeply into the consultation on the Oxford traffic filter scheme, and I looked in some depth at the responses that people were saying to it, and it was all very, very vague. There were not many people that were saying, this scheme makes sense for starters. It is fantastic, and we want it. And yet here we are. They're introducing it. The traffic filters are starting to go up, and seems to me like another ignored consultation where the public were either deliberately misled, deliberately confused, or just ignored completely.
So on your channel, tell me a bit about channel. Let's give you some, so anybody watching mine will know what to do. What do you normally do?
Normally, I make accessible, fun car videos for people. So prior to dipping my toes into explaining stuff, which my videos lately seem to be more me explaining things to people, I would buy a car and I would do a review on it, and I would have a little bit of fun and then try and sell it for a small profit and make a video about it. It was as simple as that. And I would do fun things like I bought a 7-seater and I thought, well, how fast can I sit in every one of these 7 seats? But every car that I bought it became an adventure in one way or another. So I'd buy a car from Timbuktu, jump on a train, take my skateboard with me, and then film the whole journey and then meet the person that bought the car. That was the original concept, but not too much unlike yourself. Of late, I find myself making slightly more controversial videos because I want to protect the freedom that I enjoy. And the freedom that I enjoy is going on road trips, basically. I like driving my car, up and down this country, over through Europe. I want to be able to do that. And all I see around me at the moment is threats to that thing that I enjoy. So it's not like my car videos are on hold at the minute. It's just that there's bigger fish to fry if I want to keep making the car videos.
And we've had cars now for 100 years. You know, you think of the London to Brighton rally, which is what the highlight, I suppose, in this country, celebrating all those classic cars. Presumably, with the low carbon business, that would have to halt, or you'd have to have a very special exemption, presumably, to allow that to happen, which would, you know, it would just make make it just smell funny about it. Although I'm sure they smell funny anyway because they're old-fashioned cars, which is fantastic. You know, that good old petrol smell. But it is this time. This is a weird time to be in which things like a car that we take for granted now has been here, as if somebody has decided that we almost don't want it anymore. We've made this.
Yeah, we decided the zombie slaves. In these last few videos have been about mostly car stuff and talking about it, but it's all been already there for so long. We have to go back. We have to go back when they opened the DMVs in the first place. Then the people that they put in charge of the DMVs, the power they gave them for registering and insuring vehicles. Such a simple task of keeping track of everyone's vehicles. We could have done that for ourselves for no cost, just by keeping track and buying these license plates would be the only cost. What were the license plates to give the prisoners something to do? I mean, the whole thing's fucking, it was ridiculous that we went along with all of it. And then when cars started crashing into each other. Okay, so from the time that you started out with cars all the way up until the late 70s, if you got in an accident with somebody else and it crashed into someone else's car, your fault, their fault, whatever, that would be decided. Sometimes it was no fault. But the point is this. You were using the insurance to repair your vehicle, the damage on either vehicle. Most of the time, people did not even do the repairs. The insurance would pay for it, and people would say, I don't mind driving with the dent or whatever, right? So this was happening. The idea of lawsuits from injuries, from personal injuries, didn't take off, if you think about it, until the 80s. The 80s into the 90s, insurance rates went way up. They started going way up compared to what we were seeing throughout other times. The policies were covering more things. Everybody became sue happy by the 90s, you know, by late 80s, early 90s. Everybody and their brother that you knew had been through one lawsuit or another. We're talking about, you know, doctors being sued and teachers being sued, and someone helped somebody else get off the ground that fell down. They get sued for injuring them while they were helping them up, that kind of thing. But cars in particular, the insurance went way to fuck up, and everybody was suing everybody. If anybody got in an accident, all 5 people in the vehicle had whiplash. There was no more doing it. Chiropractors took off, big time business, right? And everybody became victims, I guess you could say. People staying out of work for much longer than they even had to because they knew that they would not collect a lawsuit settlement unless they were out of work for a certain time. Workers' compensation lawsuits were taking off. The insurance, the whole idea of the insurance. So my point is that we did this to ourselves. We did all of these things to ourselves along the way, and no one stood up to it. No one ever got together and said, wait a minute, we're being fucking tricked here. I mean, you think about it, we're all paying, you know, every year 5-6% more in our insurance, and then all of a sudden we have these other hidden increases in our automotive insurance, just only that insurance alone, but all insurance. And we're being hit with it. But we're the ones that started it. We're the ones that made it so that popularize personal injuries, right? Because think about it, you don't go 30, 40 years with automotive car accidents happening, and only like a normal amount, maybe a handful per year in each state, would actually be personal injury things where, oh, this person hurt their spine or whatever. You have to get totaled, you have to get really fucked up. But if you make the cars lighter and you make them less strong and you make them with crumple zones like we did, we put crumple zones in all of our vehicles so the cars crush up real easy and fall apart on tiny little impacts. We did all this. We all stood by and watched all this. The zombie slaves, 7.8 billion. We watched it all happen. And then we watched the automotive industry take off down all those roads. And it's all about our safety, all about adding weight to the vehicle with every fucking thing you did. Inventing airbags that do more damage on a 20-mile-an-hour impact than the fucking steering wheel would, right? Breaking people's noses, busting their eyes out of their sockets, giving them concussions from an airbag when on a 20-something mile-an-hour accident because the bumper pushed in and hit the pad. Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous nonsense. Forcing everyone to wear seatbelts when seatbelts are only necessary at certain speeds, certain times, but to make it a law so that you give police officers a reason to pull people over and ticket them and search their vehicles. Again, stop and search, make it legal for everybody to stop and search. And then stopping and searching could lead to whatever you want it to lead to, so we let all that happen. Each thing that came down the pike, we never stopped it. Now that they're putting flower pots in the roads, now that the cameras were already set up during the last 10, 15 years, all the cameras were going up. Everyone's acting like the cameras only went up under COVID. No, man, these fucking things have been going on for a long, long time. Matter of fact, the backup battery packs that are underneath all the cell phone towers, they have these huge battery backup packs. And they're out. You're always going to find them. Even the cable company is installing them. They've been for years now, 10 years. So according to Agenda 21 that came out in 2010 that the United Nations leaked it, I don't know when Jeff Beck wrote his book. I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. But I'm really not even that interested in Jeff Beck writing a book. But I just think it's kind of strange that people keep crediting Jeff Beck's book about Agenda 21 when there was a lot of people talking about Agenda 21. A lot meaning a couple thousand. Even if most of them were CIA agents or something with YouTube channels, they were still putting the information out there. Even if it was false information, you could still go and find it, and then you could go to the actual paperwork of Agenda 21. I always tell the story about I used to print up hundreds of pages of Agenda 21, put them into booklets, and hand them out to family and friends because I thought everybody should be looking at what's coming down the pike, what's going on right now. It explained the mineral streets that I was constantly pointing out above our heads, and nobody ever wanted to appreciate them. So I figured that by showing that the United Nations doesn't hide it, they talk about their geoengineering and their sky seeding. I was calling them something else. I was calling them a, CIA terminology wording at the time, and of course they're all just insisting that they're just condensation trails. That's all, because that's what they told them on the news, that's what they told them on the radio. And if you try to claim that it's anything else, you're doomed. If you try to stand there and count them with them, and you say, okay, if we see 10 of them every 4 to 5 minutes in our view, it doesn't mean it's a different jet. It doesn't mean there's tens of thousands of jets flying by. It just means that tens of thousands of trails are being laid out above your head. That's all it means. But they want to confuse it and say, oh, this guy's trying to say there's 10,000 jets flying over your head. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying tens of thousands of trails. I can't keep track of, the same one goes back and forth by me 20 fucking times, you know? And nobody can. No, why would you want to? Don't distract yourself with stupid shit. Just go see things for what they are, and don't look for extra. You can't even have an appreciation of what you're seeing. So why look for anything more? Wait till you at least go and and see what it is I'm trying to show you, and then go for the rest. My internet keeps dying.
Oh, there we are. I've got a 10-minute warning coming up on the screen. It sort of pops up. I'll have to cough up the cash and invest in Zoom, I think. Yeah, pay the meter. So don't forget to donate and subscribe, all that stuff. But it's almost as if you can't help feeling as if governments or other bodies almost want to outlaw that public freedom, the freedoms that we've had, the ability to get into a cost-effective vehicle that isn't really, especially these days with the wonderful technology we've got to reduce all the emissions and things like that and make it safer all the time. And of course, that technology would always continue until you'd have something that was pretty much emission-free. You can imagine, scientists give...
The freedom that we had, the freedom to believe that there's that zeros and infinity are real, zero and infinity are true, right? That's not freedom to be lied to and to believe the lies and go along with the lies. It's not freedom. It's total deception. The freedom to believe that you live on a spinning wet pararocket ball flying through the vast of outer space at 10,000 miles an hour while spinning at 1,100 miles an hour. The whole fucking idea of it is to make you dizzy and dumbed down. In other words, intelligent. But yet we all believe in it. We all went along with it. We still go along with it. And we're looking for the answers on these topics when really we should be going back, way back in time and start tearing down the old lies and stop living by them first. No more outer space nonsense. No more fucking wars. Drop it all. We got you pegged. We see the system. We see the true creator. We see it all for ourselves. We don't need your lies anymore. We're going to face up to what we see and we're going to deal with you accordingly. Don't worry, we're not going to hurt you. We're just going to get you out of our mind, just get out of our sight for a little while. You make us sick. And then we take back the system, the true creator's work, the false creator/creator's work, and we take back the system, the 7.8 billion zombie slaves. We should not be afraid to do that. We should be doing that.